Welcome back to History Snapshots, and now that we've wrapped up our farming unit, it's time to jump into our first civilization of the year, Mesopotamia. But before we can talk about Mesopotamia, we need to learn about the characteristics of a civilization, and these characteristics are going to be really important, and we're going to use all of these characteristics to analyze the following civilizations. So in other words, these characteristics, once we know them, will allow us to determine if what we are looking at is indeed a civilization. So that is the central question of this video. What are the characteristics of a civilization? So make sure you can answer that by the end of the video. And also, like always, don't forget to number 1, define all highlighted terms. Number 2, answer the questions below. And number 3, write down something that confuses you so you can bring it up in class tomorrow. Good luck. Alright, so the very first characteristic of a civilization is it must have a stable food supply. And this is pretty self-explanatory. A stable food supply is just a continuous surplus of food that can feed a large population. And this makes total sense, right? Because in order for something to be a civilization, they need to have enough food to feed their people, so then they can go on and do other things. Because if you don't have food, you can't have art, you can't have architecture, etc. Remember that quote from the Cranium Clan Challenge: when tillage begins, civilizations and art follow. So first characteristic is a stable food supply. After getting a stable food supply, the next logical step for a civilization is to have a specialization of labor, which is just individuals focusing on specific jobs to benefit their society. So you have some people farm, you have some people make tools, you have some people hunt, you have some people do pottery, etc., etc. Take a look at the photo in the bottom right hand corner, and also think about, you looked at this in the city activity, right? There's a specialization of labor in cities and also in civilizations. Alright, the third characteristic of a civilization is just a system of government, and this system of government can vary greatly from civilization to civilization, but the important thing to note is that all civilizations have a system of government. So that is the third characteristic of a civilization, a system of government. Just like cities, all civilizations have social structures or class systems. So the fourth characteristic of a civilization is social levels, meaning there's rich people, there's poor people, and there's people in between. And the next characteristic of a civilization, so number 5, is writing. So we haven't looked at any societies, cities, anything yet that have had writing, right? That's why we've learned our methods of archaeology, because we were studying prehistory before the time of writing. Well, now with these civilizations, since they have stable food supplies and specialization of labor, they developed writing. So that is a big, important characteristic. In order for something to be a civilization, they must know how to write. Also, all civilizations have had art of some sort, and we are going to look at some of the amazing artistic and architectural achievements of the many civilizations we will study, but it's important to note that all civilizations have art. And they were able to do this because, again, of that stable food supply and specialization of labor. As this image of the Parthenon shows, all civilizations have architecture. Architecture is a really important characteristic of civilizations. Without architecture, a civilization cannot flourish, and it cannot pass on its legacy for generations to study. So architecture is a really important characteristic of a civilization. Also, all civilizations have religion. Now, this religion varies tremendously from civilization to civilization. Some ancient civilizations were polytheistic, meaning they believed in more than one god. Others were monotheistic, and we will look into that a little bit more as we study the civilizations on a case-by-case basis. But the important thing to know is all civilizations have some form of religion. Alright, and last but not least, all civilizations have inventions. Now, this one can be a little bit tricky, especially the technological inventions, because we think of technology as computers, iPhones, and what have you, but technological inventions were a big part in the ancient world, and they were some things like building the wheel and learning about how to make pyramids, etc. So don't get caught up on modern day technology. There was definitely technological advancements and inventions during this time, just not what we are used to. Also, they had plenty of innovations to improve their farming as well, or agricultural inventions. So final characteristic of a civilization is inventions. So there you have it. That concludes this longer episode of History Snapshots, but it was important stuff that we're going to use for the rest of the year. So thanks for watching, and remember, before you X out of this video, make sure you, number 1, define all highlighted terms, number 2, answer the questions below, and number 3, write down something that confused you so you can bring it up in class tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.